I think that uh, time and distance are relative. I've said that ad nauseum on this channel, but what may be significant within both time and perception of distance would actually be rate. The rate of activity is what would facilitate a sensation of time and even depth. If things are really unified beyond unity, distance would be distance would actually be, if you appreciate how profound the dynamic paradox of unity and diversity is, that the what we call a universe could be far more broad yet far nearer, so near as to be far, so near as to be farther than far from going from without, is that you could maybe go within to far to the point of how so far you can go without. You may be able to go that far and as much farther for going within to get to without. And so an example of that is like, so just imagine, so some people would say that we would talk about protons and electrons. One, that's a little bit limiting because we're very individual. We have an individualistic society along the lines of nepotism. I've said that in other videos. You have a gentrification informing many forms of brutality, economic injustice, all the way up to including genocide, racism, but also genocide is gentrification. That is displacing or overextending another group or people, to displace them, usurp their position, to commandeer, marshal, and impose or supersede. Uh, um, there's a word for like when you take a throne. It might, is it usurp, or is it when you when you take when you take the seat of viability of sustenance from another person, upon preconceived, arbitrary, maybe injustice, unequitable, privilege and entitled standpoint. That's gentrification. But then deeper is just nepotism. Is that I want my family or people that are like my family to go on having a life. So it's not enough that I lived, but I want more people like me that are also me to live even as I'm not here anymore. And I want them to get to do that, whatever I have to do, honest or dishonest and dishonest, to do so. But the point is that it has been decided, according to me, is that I will have the favor and prevail, come what vicissitude, eventuality, fortune or misfortune, circumstance may prevail. I have decided for that mine and mine are to be well off and established. That's actually nepotism right there. But um, it informs a sense of individuality. Is it materialism, consumption, individuality are similar, but it comes from that standpoint. The deeper thing had been nepotism. Me and mine will win, come what may, and that might be necessary to fight in a survival of the fittest, zero sum reality. But that's not exactly congruent to what reality is if we're being equitable, or at least fair, for lack of a better word. Even stamp, even field is as labor goal. There was a rapper named Lord Infamous. In one song he said, "What the fuck is a fair fight?" And that might be, he might have been insightful to say that, what the fuck is a fair fight. But I still think that life is what a fair fight is. Life, a fair fight would be the viability of life. I think because that would be balanced and humane. But as fighting goes, I don't know that anything is humane. Um, but from that standpoint, we break things down even to the atomic level as individual units of components of a system that might be effective in managing, that is manipulating something. Because we approach things like medicine, physics, science, chemistry, we do so with a preconceived intention of what we would like to discover in order to manipulate it to our objective and means. That might not be the nature of what we're existing, what we're appreciating. Because I think that what I want to say in this video is that a deeper word than nature is intention, meaning, but also intention is what, because your intention towards something is what actually informs your rate. If you try to run at a pace or do anything that involves pace, that's like checked. So like you have a bicycle on two wheels, that requires a pace in order to have a momentum that would make balance viability at that momentum. But it requires an intention, because you can't ride a bicycle a certain way without an intention. You can't ride a motorcycle a certain way without an intention. You can't do certain things without an intention. As sophisticated and nuanced as they are, your intention, it actually amounts to your rate, because it'll affect your intention, will affect how you move, how you dance, how you run, how you walk. Your actual intention will, if you got somewhere to be, you're gonna walk, you're gonna, damn it, move like you have a place to be. The intention had actually informed the rate, which would inform the speed, that is the timing and the distance, so forth. The perception of all that, the experience of all that, is along the lines of the intention. So I wanted to say that maybe a lot of what transpires as what's confounding about traveling space and time, as we would like to do so, would be that it may not be conceivable or viable at our present intention. Your intention is going to determine how and when and where you go different places daily, monthly, yearly, over a lifetime, across lifetimes of people living in different areas. The actual rate of a vicinity is significant. So like a lot of times when different neighborhoods will have a reputation about what may or may not have happened or could happen in a neighborhood or environment. What may be more so significant than the name of a neighborhood or some of the histories in themselves as events, they're cyclical in one sense, is that cycles are not perfect, but they're imminent, and they're potent and powerful as the universe is cycles. But what would be more significant is the rate of activity that is facilitated and is still existing in an environment that would actually predicate and inform the who appears where, what appears where, how, what, and who appears where, would be the intention, the different intentions that have proliferated somewhere in the first place, but then also the rates and the redoubling cycles of that environment would be very significant and may distinguish one environment from another. So you live in some place that's very, very populated yet very small. Sometimes when you go out of state or out of town, you come back to your town after traveling on the highway at a high speed, and you get an appreciation for how broad the earth is and life is on a highway. And you come back to your area and you realize, how are there so many people living in such a small area, yet people there's conflict, but people don't really step on each other's toes, and people have their own lives going on both together and apart within such a small area. What would be able to keep people at different to keep people have enough independence to move about and make choices and experience suffering and joy from those choices would actually be the rate of activity. As many different people as you would have somewhere, you would actually have that many different rates of activity, that is, that many different intentions that would amount to the different timing and how and where and the purpose of them appearing different places together and not with other people. But then also the distance between people, the finer thing had been the intention of people. As many people as you have that many intentions, because you have that many perceptions and prerogatives and locus of agencies available to feel things and form meaning upon their feelings, and then therefore form intentions to different degrees, to different rates, to different timing, to different distance, to different outcome. But it's still cyclical within all of that. And so that might actually be how and what something appears, the nature of it, the purpose of it to a person. One is that yes, it's some of it may be a synchronicity and reciprocal to your real values and tastes, but deeper than that is actually your goings on and your doings. Is that what would attract something to you? Is that you're actually existing at a similar rate, maybe influencing one another on a way that as you can't perceive, but on some level genuinely and uniquely having an interest that would have you at a rate, that would have you at a speed, that is a timing, that is a cyclical activity, that would have you appear how, what, and where somewhere, and where somewhere, the distance of it would be. So the appearance, the intention might predicate and be a precedent to the appearance of something, which is coming about, whereabout, from the distance, from the timing, from the rate, from the intention. Also, so different experiences that would happen for you, whether